Let's do this. Hello, world.
Hello!
My name is Maria,
Anna?
and we are from the Tallinn Product Group. And we are here to do a different kind of podcast episode.
Yes, we thought that we'd do it differently this time because we've been having some very productive coffee meetings discussing everything product in the world, but mainly in Estonia. And I thought that it would be very productive for everybody to listen and hear about what it is that is going on, and maybe you can rant with us.
Yes, so that's the one thing that is going to be different compared to the other TPG episodes where we have gone deeply on a topic, inviting a guest or one of us. We're just going to rant. So if you have no patience for unedited material, this is not for you. But if you just want to sit and have a coffee with us while we rant about different product things, then just continue. And what did we want to start with, Anna?
Yes, today we are doing the job ads rant because once upon a time you sent me one, or you sent us one on the TPG WhatsApp group, and I went, what the actual fuck? I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a rant. This is not for the faint of heart. Curse words are allowed. We're going to try to keep them under control so that you're not, too startled. But yeah, so we were just sharing what were the ads we were seeing out there. And this particular ad that we were going to open with was just, how do we put it? It just didn't make any sense. And we're going to read it to you. Maybe we do a little bit of editing and throw it in the screen so you can see it with us. But this was a role for a senior product manager at a biotechnology company. What was the first thing we noticed? Literally, that ad is like 6 lines. Maybe the length is not necessarily an indicator of whether something is good or bad. You have to be doing a wonderful job on copying and sort of sharing what your intention is and who you're looking for. But to be able to do it in 6 lines or 8, you have to be really, really elegant. They're not necessarily doing a great job here. That's far from it. Let's start with the first line that says about the job. NV is partnered with a super cool biotechnology who produce esoteric products used in bioproduction and diagnostic product development. What are we supposed to assume a super cool biotechnology company is?
Well, notice that it's actually posted by a VC. So I guess it's their job to think of their portfolio as super cool. I don't know. Probably. But yes. Would you apply to this job?
I mean, just out of the bat, the whole super cool thing puts me off. It feels like I'm talking to some dude in a bar that just, yeah, that's super cool. And there's no substance to what exactly it means. What makes it super cool? Give me more, especially because you are intending to get my attention so that I can give you my data and you can, have some of my time to explore my experience. So, but that is not even the whole thing, right? There are 4 bullet points of what this person should have, which is autonomous. Okay, what does it mean? Need to be able to think and do for themselves. There will be no hand-holding.
Oh no.
Oh no, I am so worried about this. So the first thing I feel is there's no invitation to collaborate or cooperate, but more like no hand-holding, okay? You better do your stuff. But I don't know how you feel about it. But yeah, I don't know. It's like be able to think and do for themselves. Aren't you thinking already if you're applying for a job? If you do a job, you do and you think. Think about what? Do what exactly? And no hand holding, that's okay. I didn't come here to make kindergarten friends, but maybe some collaboration could be discussed instead of...
To me, it sounds like if I apply there, I am expected to start performing from day one without getting so much of an onboarding, or rather just no hand-holding. Okay. As a product manager, I don't require much hand-holding. However, usually I still need to onboard, or it's a little bit naive to think that somebody can onboard themselves, I don't know, right away, basically.
Yeah. Although the topic of onboarding is a hot one because I think a lot of companies don't do it, and I'm not sure if we're able to perceive that in a job ad. But maybe let's pick another one before. But before we do that, there's a couple of things I want to highlight from this one. So entrepreneurial must have the ability to come up with commercial ideas that are technically driven. Sure.
Fair.
But
Yes.
yeah, what do you mean? What? So do I require a biotechnology background? Because if I'm driving ideas that will be implemented from zero, there's no mention here of any kind of background of experience. And actionable. Isn't actionable something that you can act upon? So you can act upon me? Or, actionable is not the right word. It should be action-driven, right?
Action-driven, yeah.
Some people call it bias to action, which I get it, but actionable, well, yeah, actionable, the things that you can take action on. Can you take action on me if I allow it, maybe? And the description for action was that it has to be authoritative in order to action their plan. Why though? Why is authority the only way for someone to take action?
It almost sounds like a traumatic response to something.
Exactly.
Yes.
It sounds like they've had people with no ideas that are asking about everything, that don't do anything, and that can't read. Anyway, I think this ad is like, if I were to rate it, this is 0. I don't apply, even if it's for a senior product and I am a big girl and I know what I'm doing. Like, give me something more. Who are you? What's my motivation? What does super cool mean? What am I going to be solving? Who am I going to be working with? Like, what have you achieved or are you aiming to achieve beyond being a super cool technology?
To be honest, like I've had pet peeves about job ads for years and years.
Yeah.
But this is the worst one that I've ever seen.
It's the worst. And it had 100 applicants by the time I took this screenshot, which is like, who's applying for these jobs? Why?
It had 100 applicants?
Yeah, look at it.
That is very true.
Why? At the same time, you have these. We were talking about these just a couple of minutes ago, the startup stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Soros?
Yeah, the looking for a founder ads. First of all, like the first time that I saw one, I thought it was a scam. I read it and I was like, no. Like they were the ones flaunting like very high salary numbers, first of all, and then looking for a co-founder, basically. And then it was the VC that was posting it. And it was a VC that I'd never heard of before. So I was like, I would never apply for that. First of all, that was the first thing that went through my head. But then now when you brought it up today, would I ever apply for that?
Yeah. For me, it's really strange that we're looking at specifically a LinkedIn job ads. There's probably other places. But if, you're looking for an entrepreneur, because that's what it says in different places, right? Like you're a highly driven entrepreneur. If you're a highly driven entrepreneur, you're probably entrepreneuring right now.
Yes.
You are probably building something or you're attending startup events. Are you really looking at job ads? Is this like a new thing? Like how long ago did you see this? Because I started noticing these things only recently.
That was about 5 years ago, I think.
Really?
Yeah, when I was still applying for jobs.
Okay. I never noticed that before. And that's another thing that makes me wonder. Like the jobs that I'm looking at are in theory based on my profile and I never see this before. Is because maybe I have my own consultancy and the word co-founder is there. So it's targeted at co-founders. But then if as a co-founder, you don't have the job things activated, how do you expect them to notice this? Like usually like finding a co-founder, it's a relationship. Like one of the top reasons, I was in an investment talk recently where they said one of the top reasons why startup fails is there's no click between the founders, or even there was, but then they develop issues that they can't resolve along the way. So why would you aim at becoming a founder in this way when you really need to? Okay, maybe it's just a conversation started. Maybe I am overthinking this, but I find it is a strange way.
Yeah, and I don't think that you can really find a partner like this. But and maybe this is like biased and a gut feeling, but I get the feeling that mostly people are looking for CTOs. So essentially it's a person with an idea and maybe their developer or their CTO decided to leave and now they are looking for a developer. even though they call it a CTO, but basically they need somebody to program their service or product. So
but this is super wide. Like, look, among the skills that they demand, it doesn't seem like it's just a technology part, like you're suggesting, because in this case, they say startup founder. It's not a co-founder. It's not like a startup founder. It says a title. And then it says industry specialist. And they go on listing several industries, like has deep knowledge in a critical field such as construction, healthcare, sustainability, finance, or education. I say like, hey, it sounds like we have the money to invest in these industries. We want people with ideas to come and start them.
I guess this particular one is a creative way of finding potential leads for an investment portfolio.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because the ones that I've seen is that there is something and they're looking for a co-founder.
Yeah.
Which I also found very odd. But that's true.
Is there like a Tinder for co-founders, I wonder?
Sounds like a product idea.
Okay, you were mentioning before as well that you were looking at other ads, not just from Tallinn. I've been focusing only on what I received. What did you see and where?
Okay, so let's start with why I was looking at something else somewhere else, because I feel like whenever I'm looking at job ads, and I try to think about whether I would apply for the job, and all of them literally tell me like, what is the essence of the job? It lists activities from a product manager's daily life, which I'm then expected to perform.
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean? Like, I'm expected to maintain a roadmap. Sure, okay. But what
is that really?
Yes. First of all, what is that really? And for what? And how do I know that I've been successful? I'm a product person. I'm driven by results. I want to provide value. But if I'm expected to tell you in my CV what kind of value I've brought to the previous companies, how about you tell me what kind of value you are expecting me to bring? Because then I can tell you whether I can bring it or not. Because the fact that I maintain a roadmap, I maintain glorious roadmaps. Whether they are good for something or not is another.
Are they being executed on? Or are they aligned with the strategy? Is anyone consuming them?
Yes. So, what's the change that you want to make with this new person that you're hiring? That's something that I ask at job interviews always. Yeah. Like when somebody's interviewing me, I ask like, between now the person who is leaving and me, what do you expect to change, or what is it that you want to achieve with hiring me? Then I can also say whether I'm a good fit or not.
That's actually an interesting thing that we haven't discussed. Both of us are product management consultants, right? Yes. And how do you think about applying for a job when you're looking to have a full-time position as a product manager in a company versus when you are in a discovery stage with a potential client? How do you see that differently or the same? Maybe you see them the same way.
I see them the same way because I consider myself, that you say it, it's like a bucket of cold water that I'm a consultant. Let's let that sink in.
But that's what I call it. You call it a visiting CPO, or because you work temporarily with a client in their product management challenge.
Yes,
that's what I do too. So we work temporarily. You call it a visiting. I call it a consultant, right?
Yeah, because I like to be a part of the team. I don't do well consulting. I get very frustrated. I want to be hands-on. I want to be responsible for the things we do. But anyway, whenever I sit down with a customer, the conversation is very similar to what it used to be, especially when I was a senior already in my product management role.
Yeah.
Like, what is the change that you want to see
in the world? Oh my God, let's get you know that quote, right? Yeah. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yes, but like, they want me to be that change. So I want to know whether I can succeed, because I like to win. I don't like to lose, so I like to make sure that I can win in that situation. But coming back to the job ads, I literally can't tell what my job would be or what do you expect of me. So I don't know if I would today, if I were to go back to a product manager's job, would I apply to any of them? I found just one in Estonia and then a lot in Seattle.
Okay, I want to hear about your experience looking at the Seattle ones, but there's a thing I want to touch on, because this is about ranting and I want to rant. Because you were saying what makes a difference between the way you feel about your job, which is more hands-on, which is why you feel like you are visiting. So you become the thing for a time, the real full thing. I do consult and I enjoy it. This is a new journey for me, but I do enjoy the third-party perspective. I feel it keeps me very unbiased somehow. That's a new thing I am experimenting. But there are some people that now have gone, and this just, I mean, I have friends who have the role, don't feel offended, please, but I am annoyed by that new trend of being called a fractional.
I hate fractional.
Well,
that's
I
why
don't...
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
So that's
yes.
exactly what I was thinking when we were describing. Okay, you don't consider, you consider yourself visiting. I consider myself consultant. Like, why would I call myself fractional? It feels like I am halfway. As a consultant, I am already like halfway in, right? I go as much in as the client allows me to or expects me to, or as deep as I want to go to if I feel like I'm actually going to be adding value. Because if I'm not going to be adding value, what's the point of getting myself like deeper into whatever is happening, right? And that's actually one trend that I noticed when people talk about working with a consultant. There's so much negative thing surrounding it. Like, you know, I'm going to charge maybe every hour, or I'm going to stay there longer than needed, or I'm like, you know what? I did a workshop the other day. We had scheduled it until 3. I finished at 2. In fact, it was 1:51. Why would I force it? We had achieved the goal. We wanted to get to something. We did it. Why would I force it? But I totally understand people being reluctant to working with certain people because it's all about squeezing the juice out of a situation, right?
But we come from a market, or we don't come from a market. We've not really been part of public procurement or service companies, neither of us. Yeah, I think, right?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. So, but being on the other end of the stick, I've worked for the Estonian public sector. I worked for the e-residency. I had procurement partners.
Yeah.
And there, it was quite spectacular, the sizes of the invoices that I was receiving on a daily basis, where a simple, very simple product was meant to be developed. It had like ID card, login, images, some sort of CMS at the end where you can edit text and change the pictures there. And it took like 9 months to develop, I think. And it did feel like they were trying to squeeze as much out of that contract, because procurement contracts, like, they have a definite sum of money and a definite time. So unless you've used up that sum of money by that time, you're going to lose out. And it felt like almost that they were stalling.
Yeah. And I think that goes completely against the nature of what a good product manager would do, which is drive actions towards outcomes, right? And so I'm bringing that mindset into the way I consult. And so I wonder if a lot of people wouldn't even approach to get the help they need because they're thinking we're going to be doing that. And it's like, just don't do that, people. Like, be honest and be, efficient with your work. That can only create good results in the sense that people will want to work with you again and might recommend you. But this whole, I've noticed that because, you talk to people that, they were making 200 an hour 10 years ago. Imagine 10 years ago. It's like, okay, what were you doing with that? Yeah, I put my signature. Some people would argue that, well, it took you years to get that knowledge. So something that takes you half an hour to do it, it would take them 5 hours. So you're saving them time. Yes, I know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to squeeze every bit of it, right? Like, let's find a balance where it's, a good, fair price, whatever it means to anyone. And anyway, what I wanted to get to was the ranting part of like fractional versus consultant versus, again, my fractional friends, don't get offended, but why are you calling it? Where did that even come from? Like, why? Are you like really just part there? Like, I don't know.
It's a weird word. I've been also like hesitant in using it because again, like you said, it feels like half off, half on, and because it's my name, and I think maybe that's the difference, that it's yours and my name on the job that we're doing. We're not an agency as such. It's not anonymous. We are providing services. Secondly, we are product managers. So product managers want to optimize everything. So if I can help you in less time, I can help more people.
Yeah, we might actually not be doing a favor to ourselves.
Yes.
But in the end, I think if people are satisfied with the work that we do, that matters a lot more, right? Because work will never end. There'll always be things that need to, be achieved and get done by other people, right?
That is very true.
But you did say you had seen then, going back to the ads on product manager roles, that you had seen some good things in Seattle. And why Seattle? Why did you look at Seattle?
I'm about to go visit a friend in Seattle, so just random tech hub in the US, because I know that the culture in the US is much different. Yeah. And I've been pondering about whether it's like this in Estonia or it's like this in the whole Europe. I looked at the job ads from Berlin also, because I've been hired before to Berlin, working at Innsmouth, and it was more similar to Estonia, I would say. Okay. So can't make the assumption that it's like this in the whole of Europe. But if you look at this job ad, for example, let's do the UX test, because this is how you browse job ads. Yeah. Tell me, Maria, would you apply to that?
First, I'd look at, they talk about the company. We're on a mission to, I don't always go through those. I have to be really curious and moved by the industry. This is the finance. I love finance. I know what they're on a mission on, so I'm not going to stop to read every line. Yeah, you're very motivated and driven by what you do. You've raised that much money. This has become a little bit of, it used to be, I think, exciting a few years ago, like, are they serious? Are they in seed stage or serious A? Now it sounds a little bit repetitive. We're serious this and this. So this doesn't really attract me a lot, especially if it's a company that you've been hearing around in events and
this
stuff.
Is like employer branding. You would already know this company, and whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
It's not that you're going to learn from this job ad.
Exactly. But I think it is important that they put it there, because not everybody knows about these things. Like when I got my job at Pipedrive, for example, which is where I spent a big chunk of my PM career, I didn't know what they were, who they were. And I was in their offices organizing an event for Tech Sisters, and I just happened to be looking for a job.
You were Tech Sisters.
I was, yes.
I loved it.
And so actually, and it was a very serendipitous thing, because someone else was in charge of that event. For whatever reason, they couldn't make it, and they texted me or called me, whatever, like if I could cover for that event. And I was like, yes, I can do it. Where is it? Pipedrive. What is that? Where is that? I had no idea what it was, where it was, back when it was in Paldiski office. And I went there and I loved the vibe. The event was a success, connected with many people. And then I had a conversation with one of the recruiters. She said, yeah, we're looking for someone. Would you like to send your CV to us? And that was at a stage where I was avoiding going through regular recruitment processes, because they are so fake and exhausting. This was 2014, 15, early 2015. And I was open to getting to know people, interact, which is why I'm surprised about these ads that are looking for a startup founder. I think a lot of the best jobs, connection projects, volunteering things that I've done is because I've met people in this way. Like, I didn't meet you through an ad. I met you in a community event, right? And so these have been the best experiences I've had. And that's how that happened. I didn't have my CV updated, actually. I remember I arrived home that night and I was like, I have to send it because it seems so exciting and they're looking for someone. And I prepared this CV and I sent it. But it was like that. It was an interaction. It was like getting to know the people there and then the whole process. And I didn't know who they were. And I couldn't care less about the whole startup scene. I was coming from having spent so many years in the education world that I had no idea about this thing. Although my husband is an engineer and had been in the startup scene for a very long time. So I skip these unless I really don't know anything about the company. But I think it's good. Again, they put it. Some people are curious, some people want to know. Then I go to the requirements, like, okay, 5 years, can do that. I don't know how that helps or not. Some people are great and they have been doing it they've never done it. They have other roles, but they talk about fintech products specifically. Does that create a bias? Is it because it's going to be in compliance? I always wonder about this. Like, I see a lot of benefit when you have product managers or people that don't even have a product manager background working in a new industry because they come with a fresh perspective. But I guess it all boils down to what's at stake. That's one thing I would ask myself. Why do they have to have fintech specific background, already a track record of building financial systems? Like, no, I wouldn't apply to this because I already feel like right away they're telling me, look, we need someone that's done exactly the same thing and bring it here. Now, those a person that have done this would want to, because it feels repetitive if it's exactly the same. Like, why do you want to? I don't know. What did you see good about it?
I love how you skipped the whole part where what is the essence of the job. You went straight to the requirements. And you were like,
actually,
no.
And you know why? Because I noticed, I am a person who notices headlines, headings, and paragraphs and bullet points. So I saw this is the title of the description of the company, and then the next heading I see. Now I see that they missed a space here.
So people, please structure your job ads.
Yes.
Please.
So your eyes, it's like a website. Your eyes will be attracted to, do I want to see pricing? Do I want to see testimonials? Do I want to see a demo? That's the next heading I saw, requirements. So there's a space missing there.
I agree. But what did I like about it? I think maybe it was the contrast, and in hindsight, maybe still, like, I would love for you to tell me how I can help you. What do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that the requirements, yes, it's going to repel some of the candidates, but as you heard, it would repel also Maria from applying for it. Is this your goal? To do this kind of filtering, because you're losing also good candidates, right? But what I did like about it, it's more like the what you will do is more actionable. I can get some idea of what is going to be the goal of it all, basically.
Yeah.
That the product quality currently is of some state, and we want to improve it. We want to understand, based on research, the European financial landscape. So we want to do the discovery. I can understand what is expected of me and what the goal of it is. It's got more substance, because the rest of the job ads that I also sent you the links of, they were very generic, do the discovery, maintain the roadmap,
build the vision and strategy.
Yes. Talk to stakeholders. Well,
they have this here. You can create a strategic vision for but I give it to you that I like that growth store product in European markets. It sounds like we're going to measure your success by looking at growth of the product areas you're responsible for, and understanding a very specific market, which is usually not talked about, but it's really critical for product managers to do research based. Actually, that's usually not mentioned, and that's important. So I give it to them. One thing I also dislike about this is that all the requirements say 5 years of experience, track record, but then it says product manager. Another reason why I wouldn't apply to this is because I've already experienced the overqualified, which I think is actually BS way to say. We believe because you've had these other roles before, you're going to expect too much, and we don't even want to have a conversation with you. So I don't really think that overqualified really means what they're politely trying to say it means, but it's more of a way of saying, yeah, you probably just want to manage people and things. When in reality, when I was applying for product management roles back in 2022, for example, I would apply to these. I didn't care if it had the principal or senior or group or whatever in them. I just wanted to do product work. And you have so many of these companies just automatically sending looking at your experience and blah, blah, blah. What you're saying is, because I already did something in the past, you are trying to predict my future behavior based on what I've done in the past, which is another thing that I feel they get so wrong in recruiting. Like, who can predict how a person will behave? Like, I think it's more interesting to get to know people. Actually, I spent so many years hiring. And one of the things that I did as I started gathering experience was I would have a look at the data, the CV, because I know someone in the department had already spent some time filtering this on my behalf, so I didn't have to talk to everyone and sort of pre-select something. But I went with the mindset of, I need to know who's the person that I'm going to be talking to as I talk to them, how they think, how they express, what do they ask of me, how do they perform in the activities that we do, and select because a paper doesn't tell me anything. So maybe a person never had the product manager role, but they were the general manager of a store from 0 to 100 million in revenue. Then it's like, guess what? They have skills to be a product manager. So by the same token, I would be put off that by anything that says, you have to be amazing at all these things, but there's no seniority. I don't care, but I know some people will care. And this might already create some fiction when you compare the CV with the job ad.
I agree. And what you said that I am by all intents and purposes, also I guess on paper overqualified, but I actually love the product manager job. I became a people manager because I didn't have a manager that would allow me to do actual product work. That was my problem. And I wanted to build a product the way it's supposed to be built. So it was a means to an end to be the umbrella for my team, to allow these people to rise in ranks and like come from other departments maybe, because I'm a big fan of finding these certain characteristics in a person. I'm constantly pitching to like acquaintances, like, oh my God, I love how you think. You should apply for product. And then I remember it's actually impossible to get into product.
Yeah, there's no, what we were discussing before, right? There's no roles for juniors. I mean, one way to look at the fact that they're not using any kind of levels in front of these, which might be with the right intention, is like, how do you actually even identify a senior product manager? You can be senior in a very specific industry, for example, or I think these are rare. You have actually built a lot of things, which is already what probably falls into the category of serial entrepreneur, most probably, or serial entrepreneur. Like, I don't know, like I've worked for 7 companies, and in across those 15 years in 7 companies that were in 5 different industries, and deliver X, Y, Z. Okay, you're probably a senior product manager, no matter what. Whatever they put you, you're very likely to make that succeed. So it's a very hard thing to find, but I think it's also a very hard thing to just box that this is a senior product manager, right? Maybe that's what they're trying to do with not putting product here, but it's true that you don't see junior.
I saw one entry level, one junior one, and that even had like some sort of criteria of 2 years of. If you look at the notes that I sent you, then one is there that says junior, which I was very happy to see. But yeah, it's impossible nowadays to get into product because there are so many people who have so much potential, but not enough product leaders, I guess, who are willing to coach. Or maybe the companies are in such a hurry that they are not thinking of the next generation.
Yeah, the only junior type I've seen have been the ones that open this associate product manager roles, but then
Wise, right?
Yes, the wise one. But then also what you said about the leadership and then not enough people to train. Actually, maybe we are correct to, let's say, what would be the word? Like, reverts a little bit the overhiring and growing and having all these layers, and like you have the junior and the mid-level and the senior and the principal and the group product manager and the director, and then you have like 5 layers, and nobody's doing product anymore, but everybody's like managing someone, and suddenly it's just a party of people management. Yes, and nobody's actually doing product. So I think in that sense, we I was part of contributing to that kind of mistake. And maybe that's unnecessary. Maybe you need less people and doing the right thing, and maybe there's a reason why you don't find that many junior positions out there.
But there should be at least, like, I think in every company, there should be some sort of way to enter. Because, I was interviewed by, I think I told you, EPAM system, so a while back. They also do, I guess, fractional product management. They used to be a software service company. Yeah. And now they do product also. And what I found super inspiring from those interviews were that they had an unbiased system of rising in ranks. So if you fulfill some sort of criteria, you had to do like some sort of case study and then appear in front of a board. present your case study, and if you had filled a certain number of points, then you would get a promotion. And they also, I would guess, similar thing would work if companies had like a longer view that eventually we will need people who have domain knowledge or business specific knowledge, because if you hire a product manager, it doesn't matter if they've worked in finance. Each company is different. They're going to need time onboarding, but because usually especially if like mid-sized companies are hiring, they are already like fighting fires, and they need a person right away to start performing. And then you hire somebody and that person is in a difficult place because they are simply unable to onboard fast enough. My favorite gross thing to say in that situation is, if you take 9 women, it's not going to bring the baby in 1 month.
It's not going to bring it faster. I think that's actually a general problem, not only for product manager roles. So a lot of people and a lot of companies simply don't invest in onboarding, simply don't understand that one element of success. I remember reading a study at one point, I think it was published in HBR, that the amount of rotation of companies that spend time onboarding people versus the ones that didn't was very obvious, right? Maybe there were other elements, maybe it was not causation, maybe it was just correlation, but there is a benefit to helping. I think only intuitively thinking about it, it makes sense. Like if you're going to have an impact in an area in this company, you need to understand how this company functions. Yes, of course, there is the risk of falling into the already existing predisposition or biases that people have already built into about how things work or why they don't work or why they work. But then there's also a risk of just throw things at the wall and figure it out, and you don't need time to get to know anyone or anything or have access to anything. Like, how are you going to do the job if you don't understand where things are, who does what you can or cannot do? So I think onboarding is important. I'm with you on that. But I think that with product management, a lot of the people entering companies internally, and I don't know, and I know you said that this company had an unbiased. Can it really be unbiased? I mean, not that biased.
I never worked there, but at least from what I understood, it wasn't that, somebody, and that's maybe like a feminine mistake. I sat in my product manager job thinking that I need to become better and better and better to get a promotion. And actually, it was just bad luck in many cases because I was indisposable in certain areas. I would have never gotten a promotion, even though I wanted one. So from the vibe that I got from there is, if you want a promotion, it's in your hands. It's not that somebody else passes judgment. You can apply for it by doing the work, by proving that you are at a certain level.
I guess we would have to experience it because it sounds too good to be true.
Right. But in theory, I like it.
I think wherever humans are involved, there's going to be some level of bias. Always going to be some level of bias.
What I wanted to point out though was that for product managers, often enough, if you have certain characteristics, like mindset and whatnot, like taking somebody from in-house who already knows the domain, they know how things work in the company, they know the specifics of the company, they've had time to onboard into the general knowledge thing. Maybe it's easier to actually get that junior person from in-house than hiring a mid-level senior one from the market who needs to then be under pressure to onboard themselves and then,
Yeah. And I think that's when you talk to people in how they got into product management, most of us got into the role accidentally. But I think many people, not everybody, but I think a lot of people got usually within the company, they were doing one thing that turned into another and, and suddenly they were doing product management. But is there anything you want to look into the ones that you shared here?
No, the ones from America were the ones that were more kind of, I understood what was expected of me, and that's what I liked about it. That I would have applied because, I can also write my motivation letter or go into the interview, knowing what I'm going to say. And secondly, I would be much calmer interviewing for Meta than interviewing for some of the job ads that I saw for Estonia, because I felt like reading them whenever they describe the product management process basically like in a generic way, I feel like maybe the person interviewing me doesn't really know what they're hiring for.
Yeah.
But the person that wrote that job ad does, because they have already, they don't feel the need to define what a product manager should do in general, because, Marty Kagan said so. Sorry.
Oh no, the name came up. I was hoping the name was not going to come up.
I guess that's a drinking game. Anyway, but there with the meta job ads, at least I know what part of my experience I can leverage in order to be successful at a job versus please manage roadmaps.
Yeah. Then again, doesn't that make you think about this? These ads are so clear. I am with you that if the ad is not clear and the person that is interviewing you or the group of people that are interviewed doesn't even know, then you don't even know if you're a match for each other. Maybe you're not. Just from that start, you're not a match for each other because you didn't even know how to talk about the role. But the fact that these job ads are so clearly described has also created that industry of just preparing people for, like, some people are so great at interviewing and passing processes of companies. They maybe don't have a track record in the role. Maybe they haven't delivered a product. Maybe they have one failed company and that's it. Maybe they have just managed a backlog, but somehow they train. So like there's a whole industry around training people to do interviews. Like actually we were being asked to do mock interviews and I was like, oh no, we're going to be doing that too. Please, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not commercialize more the whole get a job thing. So maybe there is a downside to that. And I sometimes think that the way that product managers should be recruited is the same way that you would an interpreter. But then again, do you recruit interpreters or interpreters just happen?
Like, that's a very good egg and chicken kind of a question. No, I agree. And if I think back, and by all, like for the record, I've made all of these same mistakes writing job ads, so I'm not clean in this.
Yeah,
it's
me too. Guilty here.
But I have to admit I don't have the attention span to read the CVs. So what I do is a hands-on exercise or a conversational exercise on how to develop a product, basically, or how to get from, let's say, the sales team comes and says that we need this one built. What would you do next? So we will have a conversation. I hear their way of going about it. And then I know.
But have you prepared your own CV?
Yes.
Because I think it does mean a little bit of respect to look at it. You're not going to memorize and go deep into this and that. And I think it's a lot better the conversation to have. But I think we should at least understand what did this person try to say to us. Because when a person is writing a CV, I just hope we can teach them one day, honestly. But when we put in the effort, we are trying to highlight this thing about ourselves. We're so good at that. Look what I did. Look, we're trying to sell ourselves through it. So I think just for respect, we should at least look at them, even if just briefly, okay, scan what.
No, don't get me wrong. I scan it, but I don't do what I myself get annoyed for that other people do to me when I am interviewing or being interviewed.
Which is, tell me about.
Yes, they expect me to write the motivation letter, prepare the CV, and this is why I get kind of vindictive about it. They expect me to actually create a separate document, not my LinkedIn, prepare it, upload it, write the motivation letter, and then not read it.
Oh my God, that is so annoying.
That I'm not okay with.
And when you have to put them in separate fields, like you already asked me to upload it and you want me to type the same thing in this form and read this. Which reminds me. Yes, let's write a little bit about this. Have you received requests to be someone's reference when they're applying for a job and they share your contact information? You told them, yeah, I'm happy to refer you. And then the company expects you to answer like 12 questions. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? Let's go back to the times when people just gave you a phone call and tell me a little bit more about you working with this person.
I have not. Please tell me.
Some companies are doing this. It's like you are a referral, but in the end, it feels like you're the one applied. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, how many people, like, I may love this person, I may have worked with them and could be ready to, look, we work in this, they were amazing at that or whatever, but why do you make me sit through these? And so there's this sense of guilt that you have because you told the person, yes, I will be your reference point. But at the same time, you're like, no, I don't want to sit for half an hour and do these. And so blame the company. Like I've replied to them back, like, I am very happy to provide information about this person, but you need to have a more efficient way for me to do this, because what is this? Like, why are we putting all these layers of like, it's ridiculous.
I've never had that. However, usually they send you an email before, you know, are you fine with, I don't know, a call or whatnot. Once I received a phone call for a reference for a person that I had not given consent to that I would be their reference. They didn't say anything, and I would not have referred them. Actually,
ouch.
And there I am. I just stepped out of the meeting to pick up the phone call, and I'm caught like a deer in the headlights. What would you do?
I know. Well, I'd be very kind and say, I'm sorry, I can't talk right now.
That's what I did.
Because I think if there's someone that you wouldn't refer, one thing is to say, I wouldn't refer a person, and another thing is to actually say, basically actively not referring them, which is like, don't hire them, because no, I think that's a little bit too much. Like, let them take their own path. But basically not referring someone, it's a no action thing. Don't do anything about it. Don't go actively talking about people negatively and
no, what I told them in the end.
Unless, and I had this experience, so I was being interviewed for a job. I had done the whole process, and then they call me, I'm sorry, this wasn't in the plans, but we need another interview with one of the founders. I was like, yeah, why? Turns out the founder knew that someone close to me had a name, and he thought that it was another person that he had worked with that had actually stolen from the company. And they just happened to share the first name and be from the same nationality. And he saw that the person close to me was that person. And so he wanted to make sure that I wasn't that quality of a human and that I wasn't related to that human. And I was like, oh, no, they're not the same. And, you know, I clarified. Luckily, it was a different surname. But that was a very strange situation. And that actually forced me, because I had already heard negative things about this person. It forced me in a situation to then go and say, no, don't even ask that from this person. That person can be dangerous. Like, it got to that level where, okay, if someone can actually cause harm, then yes, by all means, let it know. Otherwise, if they're not qualified or whatever, don't be a jerk. Don't do it.
Usually, or for most people, I believe that there's a right and wrong environment.
Correct. That's true.
So I don't think that most people are like inherently bad. For that particular person, I'd only worked with them for 2 months and we had very little contact. And for whatever reason, they listed me as their reference because, I don't know, I had contacts or they thought that this would wear away. Maybe they didn't think that they would ever call me. So what I said was that I really don't know this person enough to say anything.
Exactly. I've said that plenty of times. It's not a no. It's just that I really don't know. And that's actually a valid thing too. Right? I've had to highlight, for example, that, I know this person from this context. And in this context, they've had these abilities, these skills, these qualities. But in that context, I really don't know. And actually that boils, it goes back to the same thing we were saying before. Just because I had done this thing, you can from there project that I'm going to be under or over qualified for this or that. Like, I think we have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but that doesn't really happen when we're so stuck in seeing people as just a checklist of things rather than as complex things that change and can learn and regrow and change careers or go from being extroverts to introverts or whatnot. And I like to keep that in mind if I'm hiring someone.
But also when I'm applying to jobs, like, do they feel like a company that, so if you ask me, if I had to go back to full-time job, which I might, I mean, full-time job, I mean, as an employee, not as my own employer, then I would probably try to do it through getting to know the place, the people, the networking. And rather than say, I want to work for this place, I would be open for it to happen without me knowing. Just like the best experiences I've had professionally have all been like that. And I trust this can happen again in the future. Like, you don't know what it's going to be. You don't know. Maybe it's going to be another role. But I am right now allergic to this whole job application process.
Okay, but for the sake of the exercise where we are ranting about job ads, what would that job ad have to say for you to actually click apply?
Something unpredictable. Basically, it would have to be an invitation to let's get to know. Actually, I do remember a couple of companies that I applied for. They were exciting because yes, they had a focus on what kind of product and market they wanted to work on and what they wanted you to achieve. But they were so focused on building the team, and they present themselves a lot as a place where you're a human. You're bringing in skills, you're bringing in value, but you are above all a human. I love ads that do that. They just, hey, hello, we're people looking for people. And not so much the transactional thing, or not just that, because I understand there's a goal that we want to achieve and we need a skill set and a mindset for that. But if I'm going to be spending so many hours and days with all of you, I hope you're at least inviting. You know, it feels, I like job ads that feel like an invitation rather than like a contest.
Yes, my favorite jobs have, now that you say it, have all been ones where I took the community with me. So I was welcome as I was. And when I was more junior, I don't think I was the easiest colleague to work with. But nevertheless, I was accepted as I was.
They saw your potential.
Yes, I think they did. And so I love that you say that. Yes, I think unpredictable and something that makes me feel like I am invited as I am, that the job ad already does not suspect me of not being incompetent, which I feel that the rest of them kind of exude.
There's a predisposition to say, if this, no. If that, no, you better do this. And you're like, you're not even inviting me over. Like, let's chat. Let's allow each other to be surprised with one another. So I think a lot of companies are missing that. Just, you know. And it's interesting to get stuck also in the hiring process. Like, I saw so many things when I started applying for jobs in 2022 after I spent 7 years at Pipe, the last 4 of which were heavily hiring. I was so sorry about all the mistakes I made, because when I was on the other side, I saw things so differently. And I think companies are missing that too. They forget what it feels to be in the shoes of the candidate, what it feels to be in the job market. There's so many people right now in the job market, and I'm sorry, it's not realistic to think that all of these people are not qualified to do something, and all of them did something wrong. There's just less money, and people are a little bit more greedy, but they're still humans with great skills and abilities. Like, give them a chance. And you yourself, if you're looking for a job, also don't punish yourself too badly. Like, there's something out there for you. I don't want to be cheesy, but I feel there's something out there. The thing is in not giving up and maybe trying alternative ways than just the traditional.
Yes, the alternative ways, because I've been on the hiring end of it all for a while. And I also remember what it felt like on the applying side. And it felt impossible to do something out of the ordinary. It felt like I was expected to fit a certain type of frame. Actually, you don't. Do something else, because as a hiring manager, I see the same CV over and over and over and over again. And when I meet the person, it's just completely different. But
because that's the advice out there. Like, oh, use these keywords so that you can skip this system and that you can go through the filters. And so the system is optimized to fit in these frames rather than to get to know the humans and the companies behind them.
Exactly. So it would have to, maybe it's cocky of me to say, but I've been on the market for long enough. I think I've earned that kind of a conversation whenever I do apply. Like, at least want to get to know me, because I have enough experience on paper, at least, to fit something. And if you've got something on the market that interests me, let's at least have a conversation.
Exactly. Like, no, there's no time to waste. Maybe you're wasting something more valuable than a
And the second
30-minute conversation.
Sorry, but please start putting salary numbers on the job ads.
Yes.
Just please,
Transparency, please.
Just save the time, because it's not that you're going to be able to convince me of going lower. Sometimes, yes, but if I see
You have a budget.
Exactly.
You have a budget.
But if that job ad speaks to me and I see the lower salary number there, and I'm still interested in the problem that you want solving, I'm still going to apply. It's not that you're going to convince me to take the lower salary through I don't know what.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. I think we've
come full circle.
Yes. So let us know, how do you guys like this format? Just the two of us.
How did we do?
And if you have any comments and experience or advice that you want to share with everyone on your observations of what's in the market, what are you looking for in people if you're hiring, what's your experience as a candidate, you want to vent through our rants, go for it. Do it in the comments or share around. And maybe let's just go for a coffee and talk about this.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And until next time, hopefully.
Yep.